Every year, Americans spend more than $2 billion on lawn chemicals designed to eliminate the plants growing between their fence posts, along their driveways, and through the cracks in their sidewalks. Every year, at the same time, the global antibiotic resistance crisis quietly deepens. More than 1.2 million people die annually from infections that no available drug can touch. That number is projected to rise. These two facts live side by side, rarely examined together. They should be, because the plants we have spent decades systematically poisoning, pulling, and discarding are among the most chemically sophisticated antimicrobial organisms ever to grow from soil. Not in theory. In documented, peer-reviewed research, the compounds inside their leaves, roots, and stems can suppress bacterial strains that modern pharmaceuticals are beginning to fail against. By the time we're done, you will never look at your lawn the same way again. Pay close attention to number 3. It grows in almost every temperate country on Earth. Medieval physicians called it Natura's lancet. But first, hold on until we reach number 6. Because what one field surgeon documented in the mountains of occupied France in 1943 should not be possible. And yet the evidence is sitting in a wartime medical archive right now. Before we continue, if knowing this matters to you, subscribe. This channel covers the things hiding in plain sight that most people walk right past. We're on a journey to hit 1,000 subscribers this month, and every person who joins makes the next video possible. Also, tell me in the comment where you are watching from. Tell me below. Let's dive in today's video. Here is the problem nobody is talking about loudly enough. Antibiotics, the drugs that turned fatal infections into weekend inconveniences for most of the 20th century, are losing ground. Bacteria evolve. They share resistance genes across species with a speed that has startled microbiologists. What took decades to build, nature is quietly dismantling. The pipeline for new antibiotic classes is nearly dry. Pharmaceutical development in this space has slowed to almost nothing because the economics don't favor it. A drug you take for 7 days generates far less revenue than one you take for life. Meanwhile, traditional medical systems, Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, European herbalism, indigenous North American healing, spent thousands of years cataloging plants with demonstrated antimicrobial activity. Not because they had laboratories, because they had time, observation, and consequences. If a remedy didn't work, people died. The ones that survived the filter of centuries did so for a reason. Modern ethnobotany is now circling back to that knowledge with gas chromatography and bacterial culture plates. What researchers are finding is both humbling and urgent. The plants on this list have been doing this work quietly and persistently, in your yard, all along. Number 8. Cleavers. Galium aparine. Most people know this plant only as an annoyance. The sticky weed that coats your socks in tiny hooks when you walk through tall grass. Monks called it cleaverwort. In the herb gardens of 12th century Benedictine monasteries, where medical knowledge was hand-copied and carefully preserved, it was used specifically for swollen lymph nodes and skin infections. Traditional Chinese medicine independently identified cleavers as a lymphatic herb. Ayurvedic practitioners in India use the same plant for similar inflammatory conditions. 3 traditions. Same plant. Same application. That convergence is worth noticing. Laboratory studies have since identified iridoid glycosides in cleavers with measurable activity against gram-positive bacteria. Harvest the young stems in early spring before flowering. Cold press a handful into juice. Drink a small glass on an empty stomach. Do not heat it. Heat degrades the active compounds rapidly. Number 7. Plantain. Planago major. Not the banana. The low, oval-leafed weed spreading across every neglected lawn and gravel path. Anglo-Saxon healers called it waybread, one of 9 sacred herbs listed in a 10th century manuscript. It followed human civilization across continents so reliably that indigenous peoples of North America called it white man's foot, because it appeared wherever European settlers arrived. It contains aucubin, an iridoid glycoside with documented anti-inflammatory action, and allantoin, which accelerates cell proliferation in wound healing. During World War I, field medics in several European theaters recorded using crushed plantain leaf as emergency wound dressing when standard supplies ran out. The leaves were chewed briefly to release the juice, then pressed directly against the wound. It is one of the most documented emergency applications in military herbal history. Bruise a fresh leaf between your fingers until it darkens. Apply directly to minor cuts, insect stings, or inflamed skin. The relief is not subtle. Number 6. Ground elder. Aegopodium podagraria. This is the one. Pay attention. Ground elder spreads aggressively through garden beds and was considered so invasive that medieval monks, who planted it deliberately, eventually lost control of it entirely. They planted it because it worked. It contains falcarinol, a polyacetylene compound found across the carrot family. Research published in peer-reviewed phytochemistry journals has demonstrated falcarinol's activity against several bacterial strains through a mechanism that disrupts bacterial membrane synthesis, a pathway distinct from most conventional antibiotics. In a world where bacteria are developing workarounds for traditional antibiotic targets with frightening efficiency, any compound that attacks through a less traveled pathway deserves serious attention. And the Wartime Archive. A French field surgeon operating in the Vosges Mountains during the German occupation, 1943, documented using a ground elder preparation, an infusion of the root, as a topical antimicrobial when penicillin supplies were exhausted. His notes, held in a regional medical history collection in Strasbourg, describe consistent reduction in wound infection rates across 11 documented cases. He did not know why it worked. He knew that it did. Use only the youngest leaves gathered before flowering. After the plant flowers, the falcarinol concentration shifts. Steep 1 tablespoon of chopped young leaf in cold water for 4 hours. Do not boil it. Number 5. Dandelion. Taraxacum officinale. You already know this one. You've been killing it for years. Dandelion root contains taraxacin and taraxacerin, bitter sesquiterpene lactones with demonstrated activity against Staphylococcus aureus and Bacillus subtilis in laboratory studies. Its diuretic properties are strong enough that the French colloquial name translates roughly to wet the bed. Its antimicrobial properties are less celebrated but equally real. Simmer 1 tablespoon of chopped dandelion root in 2 cups of water for 20 minutes. Strain. Drink once daily. The taste is bitter, earthy, and deeply green, like the soil it came from. Number 4. Sheep sorrel. Rumex acidocella. Bright, arrow-shaped leaves with a sharp lemony bite. Sheep sorrel contains anthraquinones with documented antimicrobial properties. It is also high in oxalic acid, which means the warning here matters. Use it sparingly. A few leaves in a salad. A small infusion, no more than a cup per day, no more than 3 days consecutively. It is effective. It is also a plant that punishes excess. People with kidney conditions or gout should avoid it entirely. Number 3. Yarrow. Achillea millefolium. Named after Achilles, who according to legend used it to staunch the bleeding wounds of his soldiers at Troy. Whether the myth is literal or not, the pharmacology is not mythological. Yarrow contains achillin, achillicin, and a volatile oil fraction that includes camphor and cineol, compounds with both anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial activity. It has been found growing on every continent except Antarctica. The Cherokee used it for fever and wound treatment. European folk medicine used it identically. So did practitioners in parts of West Africa and Central Asia. This is not coincidence. This is chemistry, discovered independently by observation. Pack fresh crushed yarrow leaf directly into a bleeding wound to slow hemorrhage. For internal use, steep dried yarrow in hot water for 10 minutes and drink as a tea. It tastes medicinal, faintly bitter, aromatic with a cool aftertaste. Number 2. Elderflower. Sambucus nigra. The white, lace-like flower clusters that appear in early summer on shrubby elder trees at field margins and woodland edges. Elderflower contains flavonoids, quercetin and camphorol specifically, with well-documented antiviral and antibacterial properties. Research has examined its effect on influenza virus replication, with results compelling enough to drive a significant commercial nutraceutical industry around elderberry extract. But the flower, not the berry, is what traditional European herbalism used most. Steep fresh flower clusters in cold water overnight. The resulting infusion is delicate, faintly floral, and genuinely active. Use it at the first sign of upper respiratory infection. Do not use raw elderberries or unripe green elderberries. They contain compounds that cause severe nausea. The flowers do not share this toxicity. Number 1. Platigo lanceolata. Ribwort plantain. Narrower and taller than its oval cousin, ribwort plantain was listed in the Lacnunga, a collection of Anglo-Saxon medical texts compiled around the 10th century, among plants believed capable of defeating mortal infection. That is not metaphor. These were practical medical texts. It contains aucubin, actiocide, and significant concentrations of mucilage that create a protective film over inflamed mucous membranes. Studies from Czech and Slovak phytomedicine research groups have documented its activity against respiratory pathogens, including Klebsiella pneumoniae. Make a cold infusion, not a hot tea. Steep the leaves in room temperature water for 6 to 8 hours. The mucilage extracts fully in cold water. Heat collapses its structure. This is the preparation detail most people miss, and it is the difference between a mediocre infusion and an effective one. A necessary word before you go into your yard. None of what you heard today is a replacement for medical care. If you have a serious infection, see a doctor. What this video is arguing is something different, that dismissing these plants as worthless, as most of us have been conditioned to do, is neither scientifically accurate nor particularly wise. There is a principle that runs through every plant on this list. The compounds that make them effective are fragile. They have specific temperature tolerances. They degrade under prolonged heat, overprocessing, and incorrect harvesting timing. Traditional practitioners knew this intuitively. The preparation method was inseparable from the medicine itself. This is the deeper question these 8 plants leave behind. How much of what we've lost isn't just lost plants, but lost knowledge of how to prepare them? If that question matters to you, if you believe that what grows from the ground deserves more than a spray of herbicide, then please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Share it with someone who still spends Saturday mornings at war with their lawn. They deserve to know what they're killing. And tell me in the comments, which of these 8 plants is growing in your yard right now? I genuinely want to hear from you.